Is XRP going to climb to new all-time highs? Is it finally going to break that $3.40 mark that it just couldn't get over the last time? I'm going to bring the evidence to you that I have based on the technicals that we can see, the supports that are there, the pattern that is currently forming up with the candles, and I'm going to share it with you in this video. We're also going to take a look at Bitcoin's role in this and give some commentary there as well. And if you guys want to see more of my commentary, see more of my technicals, you can join me and the other panel experts over at the Discord. The link is down in the description. Use code word CASH when you sign up. Join the earners tier to get access to absolutely everything. I'll tell you more about that later in the video. For right now, way too excited. I want to get into the chart, so let's do it. So here we go. XRP, looking at the daily chart, zoomed out quite a bit right now. And this takes us all the way back to, you can see November, before we hit that last rapid rising point, if you will, for XRP. And since that time, it's just sort of fallen off to the side here, kind of moved sideways, and has a little bit of a head and shoulders look to it, with a little bit of asymmetry, which is kind of nice, because if it were head and shoulders and if we had a confirmed pattern breaking down below the neckline, that could say that we could sell off quite a bit. Now, mind you, we don't have complete refutation of a head and shoulders pattern, so that's something worthwhile to keep in mind. However, as this right shoulder extends out and we lose symmetry with that left shoulder, it's looking less and less likely all the time that that could happen. Well, what are we looking at instead right now? Instead, we have this consolidation pattern where you see this bottom support trend line and this top resistance trend line coming down, and we're nearly at the apex of those two, which actually points to April the 22nd, as I have on the charts here. And so what you can see with these little green bands in the background, these are the support and resistance areas that are put together by Fibonacci extensions. And you can see right now we are right in the mix of a big fat overlap zone of support, which we're trying to make sure that it is support for us right now, this daily candle on April 1st. Hopefully we're not getting April Fooled here. We're trying to see if we're going to break up above that. What we're looking for is a break above the top trend line if we're going to put in those new all-time highs, because if we do, one of the ways to take a look at the price target is by taking this bottom trend line and stacking it up on the top of this, and you can see that puts us up over this 343 line that we have if we break that high in that sort of way. Now, mind you, I think some of that would be going along with going into a risk-on environment, and we still have Liberation Day, according to Trump, coming up on April the 2nd, which is tomorrow. And we could expect really anything from the markets to happen between now and then. Don't forget about the labor reports that we also have coming out this week as well. That's going to be huge for us in terms of the risk environment that we're in right now. And XRP is certainly another one of those risk assets. Now, it could also break to the bottom side on this. And if it does, we could also watch for that as well, should we break down there. And if you can see that we have a lot of support to the downside of this as well, down to 170 to 177, and then again from about 137 up to 145, and then the ultimate pain point that I think which would be right around $1.04 that we're going to watch for. You could just see the density build up of these trend lines over time. So if I don't move them out of the way, you could see that we really get into the thick of things as we start to get under $1, and that's why I think that max pain would come around that $1 mark if it were to go to the downside, but I don't think that it does. I think sooner than later. Now, mind you, I should also mention the 200-day that we have coming up this way. RSI has been bearish to neutral, if you will, dancing around the 50. If we look at the weekly RSI on this, and I'll give more commentary here in a moment, the weekly RSI has actually come down from oversold down into a sweet spot, if you will, when we look at this. So let me move down here and find the top of that volume. There it is. That's volume, and then down below that I have the RSI. And look at that. We've settled down to about 52, and this is what you actually want to see coming out of overbought. You want to see that we get some support down here for momentum, that the momentum starts to turn around. We start to get that movement back upwards again. And if we go to the monthly chart for RSI, you can see we've also come out of overbought on that as well. So we've had cooling with the momentum taking us out of overbought territory and has brought us back down into just bullish territory as per the weekly and monthly RSIs. And the daily, it's still trying to decide which way that it wants to go. And the thing is that we could easily hit that moment where it starts to take us up to new all-time highs. So let me go back over to the daily chart here, and we'll take a look at this trend line that we have. Reset the price. Perfect. And when we do, just the top of that parallel line, if we do it that way, starts at 340 and moves upward. You can see the two line up here at 399, so $4 per XRP token, which would be absolutely incredible. Now, mind you, even if we do an alternative way of looking at a price target breaking out of consolidation pattern like this one and go top to bottom on this thing, And I will then take that line and we're just going to drag it right over here to the apex. If you do, it still puts us north of 340. It actually takes us and puts us out to about 374, 375, which is still significantly about a 10% rise up above the previous peak that we had on that one. Now, if we break to the downside, just because I feel like I need to mention it so that way you can tell that I'm really putting my efforts here, that would put us all the way down to about 54 cents, which would actually coincide with what we'd have from the head and shoulders pattern. But again, the density of support that we have down there, I think it'd be hard pressed to make XRP make it down to those levels again. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I just don't believe that it will. We're still up above the 200, so we're still overall bullish territory. We are down below the 50 and the 20. So let me take off the technicals for a moment for you and just talk about the moving averages that we see. These are simple moving averages. The blue is the 20, and then the pink up here is the 50. We're down below both of those. That puts us down into somewhat short-term bearish territory that the 20 crossed down over the 50. Whenever you have the faster down under these slower moving averages, that can be a near-term bearishness, if you will, or that can be a bearish view of things when you look at the moving averages. Now, if I take down the simple moving averages and put up instead the exponential moving averages to see more near-term what's happening, when we do that, you can see right now that this candle is currently wrestling with the 5 EMA. When you're in bullish movement, you actually ride the top of the moving averages, if you will. So if we go back over here to when we had those rapid rises, let me reset the price view. There we go. You can see when we go back to November, the candle's right on top of that 5 EMA. That's how you know you're in a really bullish spot. When you start to dangle off the EMAs instead is when you start to be in those bearish positions as per the exponential moving averages. And you can really see that right here from January 31st. And then it looks like until about February 11th before we started crossing over and riding on top again. We want to see that EMA cross between the green and the yellow, and especially the yellow and the red. That can really help us out for that bullishness. So where are we at right now? Well, right now we're currently dangling, but trying to cross over the 5. So in near term, RSI still down below 50. We want to see it cross back up above 50 for that bullish momentum. And we certainly want to see those candles start to ride on top of those moving averages again. Right now, it doesn't currently have their support, but I think that could easily be the case that we start to see those coming in as support sometime soon. And just to give you a zoomed in view of the support area that we have no less than 3 Fibonacci extension values in here serving as support. The most critical is the 214. We want to watch $2.14. If we can close up above that and hold that as support, and then get up above this area and just sit on top of it with a candle, that'd be a very strong vote in the favor of further upward movement. Now, I want to show you one more thing before we move on to Bitcoin and talk about its role in helping XRP to move up. And maybe we should even briefly mention the overall markets. Let me put up the Bollinger Bands for you, and we'll take that down and just take a look to see what we have. And I'm going to show you this narrowing that we have of the Bollinger Bands. And you could see, even if we go to here to watch that narrowing happen, that at some moment that you get that breakout period where here we're right in the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. You can see the narrowing crossed up above the 20, and then we get that big move up to the north side of that. These are 3 standard deviations that we're looking out here for where the top and the bottom of these are. So when you look at typical prices, 99.7% of the typical prices are going to happen between the bands. So whenever you get outside of that, that's unusual. So you can see that every time that we happen to hit 3 standard deviations above this 20 period moving average here, that you get that candle up, and then it's hard pressed to do anything but move sideways or even pull back a little. So there you can see we hit the top of it again, move sideways. Where do we find ourselves right now? There's that narrowing, another expansion. So moving forward to where we're at right now, we're starting to get that narrowing look. We're still down below the 20-day. We need to get back up on top of it. That's that first near-term signal that we're looking at according to the Bollinger Bands. We want to revert to the mean, and then we want to certainly push up above it and start to see that moment. And like I said, you can see down here with these symbols that we have any number of catalysts coming up. So I believe that JOLTS is one of them today. ISM Service is another one. I think I even saw a Powell speech coming up here on, there we go, on April the 4th. Says at 11:25 a.m. Eastern time. We have unemployment rate at 8:30. Non-farm payrolls also at 8:30. And then don't forget about Liberation Day itself, which I think is going to be a huge catalyst for us. it's going to cause any amount of volatility in the markets. So moving over to Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, what exactly do we have coming our way? Well, you can see that we're actually mired in support right now, but we are down below. Let me take off the technicals for a moment. We're down below the 20. Need to sit on top of that in the near term. Then we have the 200 and the 50 to fight up above that. So if we're able to get up above those resistances as per the moving averages, that could be a very good thing for us. A very bullish thing to sit on top of the 200 again. We still have the 50 over the 200, which is still bullish. The 20 down below both of those, though, that's a near-term bearish thing that we're watching for. The RSI trying to cross over 50 on a weekly basis just to compare to how it's going with XRP. We're once again just south of 50, but we do have a little bit of evidence off these lows that we actually are starting to see some increase there. So the potential's there for it. We just need to wait and see if that moment has come for us. The moving averages are going to be one of those big indicators. What technical levels are we looking at on here? We just found support at 81,777. That actually, 3 sevens actually sounds pretty lucky for us. We have resistance along with moving averages to fight over at 85,616 and 86,418. If we're able to get up above those, the next big line is 89,645. So we got to break up over 90K to really see it. That would put us up over the moving averages as well. And then we don't have a next major resistance up until about 96. So what you can look at in the areas where you see these big areas of black in between, these are free rise or free fall areas. And you can see in here going all the way from 81,777 to 85,616, that about $4,000 that you have. Look how much activity you have between there because there's really nothing besides moving averages in terms of support or resistance for the technicals. And we know that for crypto, that because it's hard to fundamentally value those, that technicals are tend to be where they go. So for Bitcoin in the near term, we're definitely trying to answer that risk environment sort of question. And let me do one final thing for you and talk about Bitcoin's performance as per what we see for the S&P. And so if we go peak to trough on this thing, there we go. We sold down about 30% before starting to move back up. How does that look with SPY? With SPY, we sold down about 10% before moving back up. So that is about 3x whatever the move the S&P makes, we see happening for Bitcoin, at least during that most recent sell down that we saw. And that's actually on par with what we saw going back to November of 21 to June of 2022. We saw about a 3 times movement where we saw about a 25% sell down for the S&P. That for Bitcoin, we saw more like 75% sell down. So that can give us a little bit of a gauge as to what we're looking for. We're trying to answer the question of what risk environment that we're in. And if we look to TLT, you can see the narrowing the Bollinger Bands. We want to watch and see this, the monthly chart. I'm watching this like a hawk to see if we start to see that break up above that 20-period moving average as we have the RSI starting to creep upward for us. That right now we have higher highs and higher lows on that momentum. We're looking for that next higher high to come in. It just hasn't come in yet. But if it does, that can be a further signal that we're starting to look more at longer term risk off. And so that also leads us to TMF, by the way, which I know I don't have a good view on here for you, but I will say for TMF, as I'm watching this one right now, that we're in a rising broadening wedge pattern, ascending broadening wedge pattern, and that we have this resistance line right here to get over if we're going to see further upside, and that can be spurred on by what we see in TLT, being that this is a derivative of TLT, which is a derivative of the 20-year treasury. So guys, when you come on over and join the Discord, make sure you use code word CASH when you sign up for the earner tier, because that gets you absolutely everything, including access to the expert panel chats. When you go over and look, not only am I over there with all that I talk about with the stock market, crypto market, I even talk bond market over there, pretty much overall market analyses. We also have Crypto Will over there talk specifically about crypto, and then Stockmo's over there, who's a huge XRP fan, by the way. So you can come and you can see all of us and more over there with the panel experts. So come to our Discord. Thousands of members over there already. You guys can be part of it. It's a strong and positive community. Everybody there trying to help each other reach financial freedom. We got the bread bot over there as well to help you to see when stocks and cryptos could move drastically to the upside or downside, which can help you out deciding for when you're going to buy, when you're going to sell. Advanced charting tools over there, plus AI tools as well. And it's just a vibrant community. Tons of products and services there waiting for you, and people like myself there also to help you out throughout that process. Guys, I really do appreciate you watching. Let me know down in the description what you think about XRP. Is it off to new all-time highs? Are we going to see a period of softness coming up? I'd love to hear from you. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to make sure that you see my videos as they come out. And guys, don't forget about the links in the description. Not only do you have the one for the Discord, but also if you want to learn technical analysis yourself, learn how to trade using technicals, using the bread recipe, and also options course over there. Sign up for the combo deal. Use the code word doctor when you sign up for those courses. That's going to save you a ton of cash as well. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.